stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Beichman.
Present.
Biesinger.
Present.
Boss.
Present.
Ekis.
Present.
Fry.
Present.
Gross.
Present.
Solar.
Present. Present.
You have a quorum.
All right, the first item is approval of minutes. I had a couple amendments that you should have before you. I would entertain a motion.
Move to approve the minutes of the March 28th, 2016 minutes with amendments.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Yeah, on number 6, where it says reconsider utility vehicles, I don't think that was ever in the original motion to begin with, was it?
The motion was, it was a motion to reconsider.
Yeah, but I think the original motion was for golf carts and ATVs, not utility vehicles.
Okay, so you wanted to change from utility vehicles to what?
Just strike it out. Because I don't think there was anything to reconsider in the first place, was there? Because it wasn't in the original motion.
Well, the motion was to reconsider that.
Yeah, but you have to go back to the original motion when we voted on the golf carts and ATVs. The utility vehicles was not in that. Correct?
Well, you made a motion to reconsider what then?
Just then we'll have to, if the utility vehicles was not in the original motion, then we'll have to take that this reconsider out. Because there wasn't, ain't that the way it goes?
That's just kind of semantics, because the golf carts are a UTV.
No, they're not.
Well, they're a sit side by side instead of an ATV,
They're not a
which is
utility
a stride.
vehicle. No,
Well,
they're not considered utility vehicles.
to reconsider legalizing, what kind of vehicles do you want that to read?
We'll just have to take that motion out. Because the utility vehicles was not in the original motion when we voted on the golf carts.
Well, when we had made a motion to reconsider, it has to be reconsider what? And I'm asking you, what did we vote to reconsider?
Well, okay, when I made that this motion to approve utility vehicles, you guys told me that you have to reconsider it from the original motion. Well, what was the original motion?
The original vote that we had at the meeting prior was whether to legalize those vehicles.
Was the previous vote to draft ordinances? Well, it wasn't to legalize or not legalize, it was to move forward with developing a plan for creating ordinances, right? I mean, we didn't actually vote on doing it or not.
Right.
It was whether it was worth the chief's and mine, whoever's time to draft ordinances.
So do you want it to read to reconsider preparing a resolution regarding this?
That would be more accurate, yeah.
Is that what you want? So to reconsider a resolution regarding, you got that, Debbie? Okay, so Vicki, do you want that included in your motion?
Yes.
And who seconded that?
Move is amended.
You seconded
Yes.
it? Okay, and you're fine with the additional amendment? You're fine with it now?
Yes.
Okay, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8-0. Thank you very much. Okay, we're getting ready for public comments, and I just wanted to make a clarification to the council as well as everyone in attendance. Our public comment section is for residents to share their concerns and bring something to our attention. And the business and discussion items are usually situations where we're going to vote on something and pages will be submitted to the city clerk in advance so the council can read them and prepare to vote on it. And so I just want to, is there anything that the council wants to add as far as that clarification, or is that what you believe to be true? Public comments is 5 minutes to share a concern. Business and discussion items, they will give us pages so that we know that what they're going to address and what to vote on at the next meeting.
But we can take action under public comments if we so choose.
If we so choose.
Right, yes, that's my...
All right, everybody.
And I did give a lot, I'm sorry, I did give a lot of thought to that, and I think we have, like, the library has come during this, and the convention and tourism to just give updates. So we've had a lot of people that have come to give updates on very specific topics and the discussion has been around those topics, and there has been discussion allowed as opposed to just comments.
Okay.
So I kind of struggled with that because we don't always vote on something during
Right,
that. Yeah.
right. So now we are at public comment, so if anyone would like to share, oh, actually, we have Marvin Turner on the agenda under public comments first.
I'll set it for 5 minutes, even though I thought I was entitled to that, but whatever. I guess this change in the game plan or the rules, you can thank me for it. I know I've been a pain in the posterior as far as the 20th Street project. I won't lose any more sleep over that project. First thing, instead of the alley, I've got a couple minutes here. Sunday afternoon, I went up, I don't know where the dog park is going to be located if you put one in, but I went up to where the old dormitory used to be. That's all gravel. I think some of that used to be asphalt. And you know, you might want to cut your size down to, let's say, 50 by 120 or something instead of what, 80 by 240. And at least with this area, you wouldn't need to put concrete under the fence because it's all gravel. You might want to spray the pretty yellow flowers with something that kills them for about a year. And as far as the work, instead of having a contractor do it, since it's a Boy Scout project, why don't you have the Boy Scouts do it? They might need a little help drilling holes for the posts. And as far as setting the posts, I'd use a 6-part sand to 1 part masonry cement because it's a lot easier to knock off than that sackcrete. Because I've dug posts up with sackcrete. Even with a jackhammer, it doesn't break up very easy. And as far as the water, I think people that have a dog can bring some water with them. As far as the waste, if you have a trash can there with a lid and you have some doggy bags, they ought to be able to police that up. Otherwise, I know my dog's not going up there. I wouldn't subject him to where a bunch of other dogs have been, even though he gets his shots. But as far as the fence, there's panel wire that you can use instead of using chain link, and it's a lot cheaper. What's this thing going to look like in 4 or 5 years, and how many people are going to use it in 4 or 5 years? I've talked to a lot of dog owners, and I've only had one that said, yeah, they'd like to take their dog up there. Then I'm sure there's a lot of other people who want to take their dogs up there. And on this alley, Mr. Fry had number 4, I think it was, on Gary Gundelfinger's priority list, deleted at the last meeting. I stayed around to listen to that. I didn't stay around after that. Now that's the alley between 10th and 11th, between Center and Carolina. Story time. I was cleaning out my Martin house about a month ago. Gary Gundelfinger stopped looking at the alley that joins our property. And he told me that the Presbyterian Church, Memorial Presbyterian Church, would like to see that alley finished. And I asked him, I said, well, can't you patch the west end of it where it has potholes? He said, when I do an alley, I like to do the whole alley. And your property adjoins that also. But the Memorial Presbyterian Church poured a brand new parking lot not too long ago up there. Now, I think their main concern is when you get this small aggregate that washes over on concrete and you drive over it, it'll abrade the concrete. You can come look at my driveway on the north side and you can see that. And I try to blow the aggregate off of it all the time. Well, I'm about out of time. I got a couple minutes. But Mr. Fry, I think Glenn Fry was your grandfather, as I recall.
Correct.
And he was a friend of mine. I bought a couple cars from him after I got out of the Army. And I'm going to cut you some slack. That little part about favoritism, I won't ever forget Denny's big smile when he looked at me. That favoritism wasn't lost on me. I understood where you were coming from. And I didn't really appreciate it. But my shoulders are broad enough, I can stand it. It won't bother me anymore. I won't lose any sleep over it either.
Sir, take this out of your time. But
No, I've still got a couple minutes.
No, absolutely. I don't want to take up your time with my comments. In my defense, I brought that alley up a couple times over the 5 years I've been on here, and that was not directed at you. It was reminded of me that it appears bad when a council person has a nice alley. So that was not directed at you.
The term you use, favoritism, I'm
Correct.
probably the only one that came up here and talked about favoritism, and I apologize to Councilwoman Law. I guess Goodbye. I might be here next time. I get 5 minutes again.
Thanks, Marvin.
Thank you. All right, public comments that are not on the agenda, please come forward, state your name, your ward, where you live.
Hello, Mandy Cook, 2401 North Street, and I'm in Ward 1. Because of what you said, Mayor, I may not be, have the time to do it, so I'm going to go ahead and say what I came to. I'm here representing the library, but if you don't want to move anything, I'll come back to the next meeting and be on the agenda. Okay, so real quick.
Yeah, I think everybody has, right, Debbie?
Sweet.
She did get these sent out.
Thank you, Debbie.
And people, I think, had a chance to read it before the meeting.
Okay, wonderful. Well, that was my total oopsie. I got too busy at the library and did not get a chance to respond to Debbie, so that was not her fault. Thank you for taking care of that for me. Okay, so the Marysville Public Library has a summer reading program every summer, and this year our theme is all about fitness. And Lisa Deerking and I, who is the children's librarian there, have always wanted to do a story walk. And a story walk is something that you take apart a book and you laminate pages and put it on a stake. And the first page is, starts, and then you go about 30 or 40 paces, and there's the next page, basically taking a walk while reading a book. And so we actually got an opportunity for seed money grants from our area library system for $50 to start an idea. And so Lisa and I decided that maybe this would be the year with fitness and of course with summer to do a story walk to kick off our summer reading program. So that's what I'm here to ask you. I would take care of the story walk itself. We'd have it up for about a week. I'm actually working with Brian Froggle at the farmer's market. We would kick it off at the farmer's market and then have it up until the next farmer's market. And every day I would go walk in the park and just make sure that none of the pages were missing or destroyed or anything. I would take full responsibility for that. So basically, I'm just asking if that would be okay if I would aerate your lawn for you just for a little bit right beside the rail trail. We're planning on doing the rail trail alphabet adventure, which is perfect for this area, I think. So.
Our sprinkler system, where does it run in relationship to?
It's only on this side of the trail. It's on this side.
So.
And it's inside. It's not on the outside.
So will she?
She can put them on. She can put them on the outside.
Okay. On the west side of the trail?
Yeah, they're going to be laminated, so they're
Yes.
going to be.
No,
Yeah, I don't want to poke it,
You don't
though.
want the post to go into the sprinkler system.
Right.
The sprinkler system is on this side of the trail. So if she puts the signs on the opposite side of the trail, the outside.
I'm
they'll be
just
fine.
trying to make
Yeah.
sure that she's aware of where to put the
Right. That's
signs.
what I'm saying.
The posts, we want the posts in the correct place.
Absolutely.
Because we don't want you to hurt our sprinkler system.
Don't want
that we
to
just
ruin
got in
anything.
there.
No.
Okay, does anyone else have any questions for Mandy Cook?
Sounds like a good idea.
Thank you. Thank you.
So do you want to make a motion to approve this project, to proceed?
Yes, move to approve the story walk.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? You'll check with the city workers as a placement of the polls for
Sure.
me?
Absolutely.
Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? 8-0, thank you very much.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you.
Brian Cook, 2401 North Street, Ward 1.
Another story walk present?
No. No, but what I would like to mention does deal with walking. It has come to my attention that there is, again, potential discussion of increasing the speed limit on North Street east of Landau Corporation. That is where I reside. It's where my children reside. I have come to the council before and asked that the speed limit not be increased there. We live right there on the street. If we were several hundred feet back, I might be a little bit less inclined to voice my opinion about this. But, I got kids there. Kids go outside. I'd prefer to keep the speed limit down as low as possible for that reason. Plus the bike trail, the walk trail. On my drive over here, there was a mother and a daughter walking their dog and a guy riding his bike just in the minute and a half I was on the trail, or I was on the road. So my concern is that if this is something the council is thinking about discussing, to keep in consideration that there are people who reside on that road who would like to keep the speed limit where it is.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing your concerns.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Brian.
Good evening, I'm Tanner Gustin. I live on 1154 11th Road in Marysville. I'm in Ward 1. I'm here to talk to you about the concern of the prom walk that the seniors usually do every year. In the past, classes have been able to take usually all vehicles, including four-wheelers, dirt bikes, pretty much everything. We're just asking this year that we would be allowed to take street legal vehicles only. That would exclude four-wheelers and dirt bikes. I know they've been a problem in the past, and we really want to try to clean that up and become the class that can, maybe create a new standard. We're asking that if on April 23rd, from 8 to 8:20 p.m., streets 7th through 13th on Broadway would be blocked off, so we could take our vehicles, like cars and bicycles, down there for the prom walk.
And that's the area that's always been marked off before, right? 7th to 13th? Mm-hmm. Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Gustin?
I'm sorry, did you say the times you wanted them blocked off, from when to when?
Yes, from 8 p.m. to 8:20 p.m.
And the slow-moving vehicles, if there's going to be any needs to have that slow-moving vehicles sign on the back also, like tractors.
Okay, yeah.
And you don't think it'll be any revving engines or gunning it up and down the street, running stop signs, anything like that this year?
I'm doing my best to make my classmates understand that it's a privilege to be able to do this, and it's something that we have to fight for, especially with the classes before us. Not really following I know it puts a lot of stress on you guys to allow us to do this, so I'm trying to really stress to them that it's important. I'll do my best. I think that we will be the class that can kind of change it and live up to your guys' expectations. Every classmate that I've talked to said that they want to change it and make it better. So kind of why we tried to wean out the four-wheelers and dirt bikes, because people get pretty crazy on those, and that can be a little dangerous sometimes.
I know when we spoke to Chief Ackerman, that was kind of the parameters he wanted, so I'm glad you are respecting that.
Yeah.
So
sounds like you're making a good effort, not just promising things that can't be delivered. So.
And in the past, has the police chief gone to talk to the students, or?
Yeah, if you guys would approve this, I would coordinate or do whatever you needed me to do. I could coordinate with Chief Ackerman, whatever we needed to get done. So.
Okay.
I think Todd was going to do that, talk with the superintendent, and the superintendent was going to talk to the class.
Okay. All right.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
How will this be blocked off? Are you expecting the city to put barricades up, like at 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. and then take them down at 8:20?
I think all they do is they have the police mark off on the highway, the crossing.
Yeah,
they block it with vehicles.
Yeah, in the past, the police.
The highway, 77.
Okay, so we're doing both sides, right? We're doing the highway side and we're doing the city side to block it up.
Yes, ma'am.
Right there at 10th Street.
10.
But otherwise, they don't put cones up or anything. I guess everybody just knows.
So temporary.
Yeah.
Well, that's what he's asking for, it to be blocked off.
I think he means effectively blocked off by the police, controlled.
Yeah.
Maybe that'd be the word.
All right.
So you don't expect any barriers or any tape or anything that says, don't go here?
Well, I mean, as long as we can just control it and make sure that no outside traveling traffic comes through.
I don't think we've
I'm
put
gonna do
cones
that.
up before.
We never have, that's what he's asking for.
And there's so many people who go down to watch, it becomes pretty self-evident that what's going on. People kind of avoid the area.
I can block one street if you'd like me to, Vicki.
Well, I'm just saying, here's what he's asking, and the kids will expect that it's blocked off, so they're not going to be looking to stop it at any intersection. If we have nothing that says nobody's supposed to cross here, people are going to cross. I'm just saying, we're trying to give you what you
People
expect.
slow down pretty. There's a lot of people standing around. If anybody's going to cross the streets, they're pretty well slowed down.
Yeah, in the past it's been more concerned with the kids themselves being the traffic hazard rather than the outside vehicles being the hazard. So,
I mean, I guess we could go ahead and ask them to put cones on each of the cross streets.
No.
we can
No,
leave
just
that-
one cone is
We
what
can
I...
leave that to Chief Ackerman too.
Okay.
He's got expertise in the matter, so.
They have put cones at the intersection.
I was going
like
to
a
say
single
just
cone to grab
a single
attention.
cone in the center.
Tall
That's what-
ones.
It makes sense just if you want to make sure they're paying attention, maybe just one cone in the middle of each of the streets.
Will that do?
Yeah, yes.
Well, I move to approve that we allow them, with the assistance of the chief of police and with communication at the school, to block off for 7th to 13th from 8 to
8:20?
8 to 8:20 on April 23rd.
Second.
And allow street vehicle,
Street vehicles only, no non-street legal vehicles. So,
Sorry.
bicycles are allowed, horses are allowed, tractors are allowed, but nothing else.
Yes, sir.
All right.
I still second.
You're still seconding? Okay. Even though we added all that. Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8-0? All right.
All right, thank you, Council.
All right. Have a great evening. Any other public comments? All right, moving on to business and discussion items. Joey Cromie, is he here tonight?
I don't see
No,
Joe.
okay. But Tony, you want to come and explain what you found out about his sidewalk or curb and gutter, I'm sorry, sir, curb and gutter? That was given to us on page 18?
Yep. Like I explained in that letter, we just went down and took some actual elevations so we could calculate the existing slopes, and I think Rick had talked about the possibility of lowering that inlet, and we just wanted to check and see what it would do to the slope of the sidewalk and kind of the other consequences of doing something like that, so. I
So
think-
basically, you said it would have to reduce it by 5 inches, so it's not practical, right?
Right, yep.
Yeah.
I mean, you can make small adjustments, but whether that's worth it or not.
And as far as when it says additional inlets or trench drains, would that be very expensive?
Oh, because if they're replacing the curb,
Yeah.
then you're just looking at pipe and some inlets. I don't know exactly what that would cost, but that would be the time to do it when if they're already going to replace the curb. I don't know if that's part of, would Cromie's do that? Would they replace the curb, or are they just looking at the sidewalk?
No, we already approved the sidewalk. The cost share on the sidewalk. The only thing we didn't do is discuss the curb. And so we were waiting to see how much of the curb we needed to do and to see if it was going to solve any of the
So,
problems.
yeah, if they weren't doing the curb, now that would obviously be your expense as well, and, that would start that up.
So the curb that they gave us was $2,500 just for along in front of their property. And so you're saying it's a possibility to put that trench drains in at a minimal cost?
I don't know what minimal would be. I mean, it might mean a couple different things to different people, but
You'd have to replace it, you'd have to replace it clear over to the
yeah.
Catch basin.
You got, once you go under, yeah, you'd have to take it all the way.
So include
To
the
that.
laundromat, under the laundromat?
Correct.
So, well, someone brought it to my attention that we just replaced curb in front of Mason's, and they said that they took out brick there and put the new curb in and then reset the brick.
Yep, looks nice.
And so
That's in front
I
of the
can't figure
courthouse,
out why we can't do that same thing in front of Cromie's.
Well, you would. You can't hardly take it out without taking a few brick out.
Well, they didn't come out very far.
They didn't?
Come out about 3 feet.
They'd only come out about 3 feet in front of Mason's and up the street there. Yeah, by the courthouse. They only come out maybe 3-4 feet.
Would that help any of the problems there, the 3 feet?
Well, that was my statement last meeting, and somebody
we said
stated,
10
yeah,
feet.
that they had to go to 10 feet to
That's
be
where the
effective.
tracks of the vehicles really are. That's where the dips are.
The 3 feet, 4 feet.
So,
So you don't think dropping that curb at all in the throat area would matter on that, Tony?
Oh, like I said, you would maybe get from 0.1% to 0.2, and
It's better than it is now, though.
but with that, again, you're going to replace that brick. You're going to take some brick out to do that, and after
You take the brick out anyway to repair the curb.
so that was going to eliminate some of the problem areas there that are low. And
so the trench drain, we would have to go ahead and replace the curb all the way as well.
yep.
But we don't know how much that would cost.
How big a line would you have to run?
Oh, it probably wouldn't have to be very big at all.
6 inch?
Yeah.
You have
There'd
an
be
idea
several
how much that would
different
cost?
options you could do, but yeah, it wouldn't have to be very big because you've always got a fail safe that if it, if your grate plugged up with leaves, it's just going to continue to run down the gutter. And
I was just thinking from the maintenance point of it though too, 6 inch really isn't big enough to, makes it harder to clean.
Yep.
Well, do we want to go ahead and just do the sidewalk in front of Cromie's, the bid that they presented, and hope to get the street done between 5th and 6th, the brick done in the next year or two? So what Joey Cromie presented, he was requesting what's presented on page 9, that the city incur that cost. That's what he presented.
How's the curb in front of there? I know there's some bad spots in it.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to see him spend that kind of money on his sidewalk when the curb is in such poor shape there too, with the V's and stuff in it. I mean,
well, each point of contact or each seam is very bad there.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Each.
I walked it today, and it is really bad.
So should we go ahead and bite the bullet and pay the $2,500 and hope to get the street done soon thereafter?
Or could the city do it?
Well, I'm not sure that their curb and gutter bid included a whole lot of brickwork, so we could work with them. We probably could go back down and put the bricks in.
I thought about the street crew doing it, but remember we figured out that having our crew does it costs about $100 an hour. And if it takes them 2 days, that's $1,600. If it takes them 3, it's almost equal to having them do it.
How many more, so it's 104 feet is what the quote's for. How many more feet is it to take it to the catch? I don't have a good concept of it.
40 feet.
I'd say that's close.
Probably right, yeah.
Would we want to go ahead and get a price to do the whole thing?
We need to do the whole thing.
The driveway, if this is 2,500, if you're talking about another 40 feet, but it sounds like the drain would be.
You went out and measured it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but from where I looked, it looks like there's a high spot just about the end of his building where the laundromat starts.
Yeah, the slope definitely
correct?
varies, yeah. I can't remember where it is, but I know there's sections of really flat, then it catches up a little bit, and then it gets flat again. And
yeah, I think
so at least in a new project, you could try to get a straight grade.
Grade all the way to the drain.
So do you want to get a bid from Inline for that? To include that?
The drains, would you have to do the engineering? I mean, would you have to do engineering to even get a quote on that?
I think you just want to do the curb all the way.
The curb all the way to the drain.
Curb and gutter to the drain is what you want to do.
Not do the drains that he's catch.
Do you think dropping the drain any at all, Tony, would help? Even if we dropped it a couple inches?
Well, it would help. I mean,
but I know it makes back our curb a little higher though too there.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not doing the sidewalk there.
No, I know, but you still have to edge it off the backside of the curb.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might end up with a 7-inch curb, 8-inch curb for a section of it.
I think that'd be a way to go.
To
do the whole thing.
Yeah. To request a bid from Inline to do the curb to the storm drain.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we can. Do you want to do that, Rick, or do you want to ask Joey to do it? You'll do that for us? Okay, then we'll discuss at the next meeting. All right. You can stay up here, Tony.
All right.
Because you are going to be discussing what's on page 17, which was our 11th Road project.
Over a week ago, Rick had mentioned that you guys were talking about that again, and so I kind of just asked for my thoughts on it and maybe look at some cost, and so I just, like I said in the letter, I compared it to the previous project. If you choose to go to concrete, to try to get a scope of what doing that entire length of road would be at one shot. Like I said, and I was close, estimate up in the upper 400, up to $500,000 for one shot with concrete.
Wow. That's with concrete, and what do you think it is if we do asphalt?
I don't know for sure because I would definitely recommend a pavement design with some geotech work where they would come in and kind of analyze the base, and then they're going to come up with a true thickness based on an actual asphalt material and expected traffic loads. Because on that length of a road, if you can potentially either save an inch or, I mean, you definitely want to get a right pavement section, but without the fear of over-designing it, if you could save an inch, you're going to save a lot of money.
Well, that's the problem now, the edges are so soft on it.
Yeah. And I think either way, you would do a full base replacement and get a good base, because yeah, that right now it's just been it's an old road that was built up and the edges aren't solid.
Right.
So anything you overlay or put down is just gonna, it will fail on the edges.
So asphalt will last how long compared to concrete?
Well, it'll last as long, but you have to seal it and maintain it. There's a lot of people get paid a lot of money to analyze life cycle costs of asphalt and concrete, and depending which business they in, is which numbers come out more favorable usually.
If heavy UP trucks keep using that road, then concrete might last especially a little longer, right, with heavier traffic?
Yeah. Yep.
You said railroad trucks?
Yeah, well, that's, I know a lot of it on Keystone Road's done a lot of damage.
They're still doing, obviously, our highways and asphalt, so there's got to be some comparison. I mean, if it was a clean, no matter what, concrete's better, I think they would have switched by now, but there's, I mean, the benefits of asphalt is you can put it down faster. It can, you know, if you do that whole road in concrete, you might be looking at 4 or 5 weeks of construction just for the pavement, whereas asphalt you would do in a week, less than that.
24-foot wide road will not give any place for walking, will it?
No.
No sidewalks out there.
Nope.
No room
Yeah,
for
it stops
sidewalks
at
out
Prairie
there.
Lane. It stops at Prairie Lane. Stops on the north side of Prairie Lane. And there is one, there's a short section of Mission where Prairie Lane is, and it is alongside the senior housing. It stops at the edge of the senior housing.
So what surface are you guys thinking about out there? Concrete or asphalt?
And Rick and I discussed, you know, we could design both and bid both and at least compare your upfront cost. And you could try to get an estimate on looking down the road at maintenance costs over 10, 20, 30 years.
I'd be pretty tempted for concrete in that how much trouble we have keeping up with sealing and on all the pavement we already have.
That'd be the way to go, cost effective in the long run.
Yeah. I think so too.
Pay more now, but I think you'd be better off in the long run without sealing it.
I think it'll hold up better too along the edges.
Yeah.
So do you want him to go ahead and do the design for concrete and see what it looks like? Estimate cost, the full thing?
I'm in favor of it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would entertain a motion.
What we need is come back with the proposal next.
Oh, you'd bring a
next meeting.
proposal to us?
So are you looking for a cost estimate or is this number? And then an estimate for, or a proposal for engineering?
Yeah, yes. So we just request that from you and you bring it next time?
Yep.
All right.
Would we be able to create a benefit district?
Not without 51% of the ownership.
51% of the ownership what?
Of properties on both sides.
Who has to have 51% of the ownership?
If we
Create a
If they
benefit district.
participate in the costs?
Yeah, 51% of the
Ownership.
frontage feet have
51.
to approve it.
Ownership of the frontage feet, yes. Not 51% of the owners.
No.
51% of the ownership of the frontage feet.
So should we go ahead and let him design it and find out what the cost is and then decide to proceed with that?
Yep.
Okay, are you okay with that, Darlene? All right. Thank you, Tony.
Very good, thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
All right, the next item is a resolution regarding the bike across Kansas on pages 19 and 20. Oh, and there is a correction on page 19. changing the date from September 12th, in the second to last paragraph, September 12th, 2015 to June 8th, 2016. And then on page 20 is the map as they had proposed. Did you want to share first?
Sure. Tanya Reed with the Wagon Wheel. We're working with Brenda at the Chamber. We want permission to extend our premises to serve alcohol at the Bike Across Kansas on Wednesday, June 8th. We want to start selling the alcohol like from 11 to 4, just in front of the Wagon Wheel, behind it, and around the 7th Street corridor, and then about 3:30, block off the barricades that are shown, because the Chamber and on Broadway they're going to have a band and music and stuff playing.
You did this last year, right?
We did this for the Gravel Dash last year, but now we want to do it for the Bike Across Kansas.
Okay.
And it pretty much be the same premises as we did for Bike Across for the Gravel Dash.
So the barricades across Broadway will go up when?
About 3:30.
And what about the ones in the alley?
Well, the alley will have to be blocked also.
But
it was
But what time?
Well, it'll have to be when our beer garden starts.
Because
the way it works, when we extend our premises, the barricades have to include our front door and back door. And with our property meeting the city, you walk out our back door and it's the alley, so it's city, so it would just have to be like where our back door is. And
well, I drove by there today, and like the senior citizens who eat at the Hellring, they would have to back out of the one part of the parking lot.
Barriers were catty-cornered last year from the back, from their ramp across, so you could still get out the one drive. That's direct, the one road that's
the one, but not the other one.
Right. You'd have to, they'd have
to back up.
Right, but the one they can still get through.
So you're saying that the second row of that parking lot, they'd have to back out?
We could probably adjust that a little bit, just so long as they're, until after everybody's gone from lunch hour. We could probably adjust that. But we've got to keep their back door inside the perimeter.
I guess if you think about it, if it's blocked off at 11, when they go to park there, a lot of them will probably park across the street rather than in that.
But they would be able to get in. They would.
But at 11, if they have it marked off at 11, they would know they're marking it off at 11. Most of the people, wouldn't they go ahead and park across the street rather than?
They may not realize it's blocked off. They're just pulling in. They might not, until they go to leave, they might not realize that it's.
But you're saying that you believe that they'll have access out on one side of the alley, on half of the alley?
Yes.
I think we could. What time do they usually leave after lunch from the Hellring Center?
Well, a lot of them at 1, but then there's some who stay and play cards.
Right. I'm sure we can adjust it so that they can get out until after everybody's gone.
My main thing is when we extend our premises, it just has to include our front door and back door. And that's just, that's just the main thing that I...
Right.
Move to approve resolution 2016-04 for mayor to sign.
Second.
There's one other thing. You have the barricades there before the restrooms and before Joe's. Have you asked Joe if that's where he wants it?
It'll be on that side. It'll be on this side of Joe's. He won't be. We'll stop at his place.
Does he want to be in the barricades? That's my question.
I don't know.
Have you asked him?
No.
Don't we want access to the public restrooms too?
But that's our liquor license. That doesn't,
This looks like it goes to the restrooms based on the door being on the east side.
Yeah, we'd like to have the restrooms in there.
So they will be
we'll
just on the inside of the barricade. Okay, so the restrooms won't be an issue.
Well, and they're really not blocking. They're really just putting barricades with signs up that says no alcohol past this point. There's nothing that really precludes
and when we had the Gravel Dash, we didn't have we didn't have a bunch of drunk people running around. We didn't, They came, they sat outside, they had a few beers, listened to some music. There's going to be 5 times as many bikers this day than there was for the Gravel Dash, but It's the same
And it'll be
concept.
on a Wednesday instead of a Saturday.
Yeah,
Yes.
they're not gonna be over consuming because
Yeah.
they gotta get up and ride 100 miles the
Yeah.
next day. That's the longest day. The next day is the longest day of their week of riding.
I know you were concerned.
Excuse me. I had one question about the food tents. That's right next to Boss Motors car lot. And there was a problem with the car show back several years ago, the Knights of Columbus, cooked hamburgers and the grease got on cars. So after that, anyway, that was a concern of my brother-in-law's.
I'm trying to think what we have lined up, and I don't think there's gonna even be anything like that being cooked. It's all
So
gonna
it
be brought in,
shouldn't be
so
any
there shouldn't be a
problem
problem.
then.
But I'll
Yeah.
double check if they are. We'll make sure they're not right by cars, or we'll figure out something so nothing like that happens.
Okay, anything else?
Well, I'd like to know if he chooses to be included, if he can be included, because it looks like this is going right to his door, and so his patrons would come out and not be included in this.
Well, he'd have to apply for a separate extension of premises though, because this is their extension of premises. They can't combine it because of the way liquor licensure works.
Can they combine it, the space? Or is Joe gonna have to say, well, then I'll take the space from here to the
He
end
could
of the
come and
block?
ask us to, and we could block that off as well, but it'd technically be a separate premises.
Joe's is a 3-2 license, and ours is a liquor license, so it's completely different.
Yeah, and I can tell you, we extended the invitation to him last year for the gravel dash, and he didn't do anything with it at that time. Whether he would now or not, I have no idea, but we told him what we were doing at that time, and it's all the farther it went.
Okay, wait, just to be concerned of him, will you go ahead and show him this map of your proposal and just say if you want it included, it's your responsibility just to reiterate
I
that?
can send that letter like we did last year for the gravel dash.
That would be great. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, we are going to move Anna Keena down to the end of this, so we're going to move ahead to item number 5, skip number 4 and go on to number 5, which is on page 21, which is amending our personnel handbook.
Move to approve resolution 2016-5.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. 7-1. All right, and the funding sources, those were two things from the last meeting that we did not discuss what fund we were going to take the expenditures out of. The first one is the flush tank project, and it was estimated to cost $70,000 to $75,000. And we do have money budgeted in this sewer replacement fund. I did the schedule that Rick added here that was not in the packet. Shows what our current sewer operating revenue position is, where it says current position of $30,000. I'm sorry, $400,000. And so that's showing 123 days of operating cash. And I know we're taking out of that the water shop repairs, part of it that's in the appropriation this week. So that's going to be about $35,000 to both the water and the sewer. So that would take that number of days down to about 10 days to about 113 operating days. So if we actually took that 75,000 out, it would bring it right down to 90 days. So I'm kind of inclined to go ahead and take it out of the sewer replacement fund instead. Do you guys follow all that?
I'll make a motion, we take $75,000 out of the sewer replacement fund for the flush tank expense project. Second.
Or whatever the bid is, right?
Yeah.
Whatever the bid is, okay. There's a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8-0. And the other thing is, a smaller thing, is the school crossing signs. We just didn't say what fund that should come out of. It normally comes out of the general fund, the traffic control line item, I'm sorry, department and,
Is this one for the, was this for the TA project? That's funded, is that the one you got about?
the
This is one
school
that-
crossing signs, the ones we approved last,
Okay, not the TA, okay.
yeah, no, just it was $962, I think, wasn't it? Keith made the motion. Do you remember that? Was it 862, 962? It should be in the minutes.
Yeah, that's where we'd be taking that one.
So it's normally taken, we just didn't specify where it should come out of. It usually comes out of the general fund, out of traffic control. There's a specific line item for signs. And it has a $6,000 budget, and so far we spent $3347. 625. So the 625? Oh, okay. So just want to make sure that that's where you want those monies coming out of.
Move to take the funds for the school crossing signs out of the traffic control budget line.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
7-1. Okay. Now we'll go back to Anna Kina. Anna, is there anything you would like to share with us before we go into executive session? No. Okay. So our city attorney isn't here yet, but we will go ahead and make the motion to include him when he comes. All right?
How long do we need?
30 minutes.
We are suggesting 30 minutes. Anna says we can come back if we're not done and go back for another 30 minutes. Okay.
So, Madam Mayor, I move that City Council recess into executive session pursuant to the non-elected personnel exception KSA 75-4319, Part B, Part 1, to review city administrator candidates. The executive session will include the mayor, the city attorney, Olson when he arrives, Anna Keenan from the League of Kansas Municipalities. The executive session will begin at 7:48 and end at 8:18.
I second it.
8:18.
Should we say 8:40? So we say 8?
That's good enough.
8:20.
Let's say 8:20.
Let's make it easy. 8:20. Let's say 8:20.
Okay. Is there a second?
I second it.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, and please bring your calendars.
Oh, crap.
Do you have a calendar?
Dates for calendar.
Oh, of course. Oh, man.
Take my place.
Yeah. No.
Oh, we are returning to executive. Is everybody here?
Can we take a restroom break in there?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
My pop was full when I left.
We are returning to the regular session of the city council, and there were no action taken during executive session.
So, we read the whole thing again?
Yep.
Okay, all right, so I'm going to move, again, I move that City Council recess into executive session pursuant to non-elected personnel KSA 75-4319, Section B, Section 1, to review city administrator candidates. The executive session will include the mayor, city attorney Olson, and Anna Keener from the League of Kansas Municipalities. The executive session will begin at 25 after 8 and we'll
Just take it till
resume
9.
at 9. Thank you.
Is there a second?
Second.
Vicky's not here. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Absent is Vicky. Is that all right?
Yeah, we got a quorum.
We got a quorum. Like she's not
You just
here.
gotta have a quorum.
I'm always up to your
Vicky.
allowed to come back.
Yeah.
She had that all written out for me, I didn't know.
Oh, you can go.
The regular meeting of the city council is now reconvening, and there was no action taken during executive session.
Madam Mayor, I move the City Council recess in executive session pursuant to the non-elected personnel exception KSA 75-4319, Section B, Section 1, to review city administrator candidates. The executive session will include the mayor, city attorney Olson, and Anna Keenan from the League of Kansas Municipalities. The executive session will begin at 9:02 and end at 9:20.
Is there a second?
Second.
Did we get all? You got it all done?
Yes.
Is there a second? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? 8-0, here we go.
Here we go.
Sorry, you guys. I know it's taken this long. You should have just went into free jigsaw puzzles.
I'm not gonna bother saying.
The regular meeting of the City Council is now reconvening. There was no action taken during executive session.
Madam Mayor, I move that the City Council recess into executive session pursuant to the non-elected personnel exception KSA 75-4319, Section B, Section 1, to review the city administrator candidates. The executive session will include the mayor, city attorney Olson, and Anna Keenan for the League of Kansas Municipalities. The executive session will begin at 9:25, given a restroom break, and end at
9:45.
What time?
9:45, 20 minutes?
9:45.
9:45. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8-0, here we go.
You getting tired of pushing that button?
Put your jet keep some together.
Back up here. Yes. There it is. Whenever I saw that last name, I just got out of it.
The regular meeting of the City Council is now reconvening. There was no action taken during executive session. Going forward, notices and hearings. The only thing I know is I talked to Dave Richardson and the car has been removed from 210 South 6th.
Yay.
So we don't have to worry anymore about that.
Garage.
Good. All right, the consent agenda.
Move to approve consent agenda.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8-0. Presentation of appropriations ordinance.
Move to approve appropriations ordinance number 3611.
Second.
3624.
Oh, wow, I got a really old agenda.
3624.
3624, sorry about that.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Debbie?
Beichman?
Yes.
Biesinger?
Yes.
Boss?
Yes.
Ekis?
Yes.
Fry?
Yes.
Gross?
Yes.
Schroller?
Yes.
Crom?
Yes.
8-0.
All right. Rick, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor. In the interest of time, at the financial reports, if there's any questions, if not, we'll move on, I guess. Transfers report is also attached, self-explanatory. On the land and water, that should say LNWC&M, so I'm sorry. Land and Water Conservation Fund grant proposal. So final draft, reduce the line item cost for most strips are really reflected to have maybe gravel. You want to do it, total project cost shown at $19,900, city share would be $75,12, excluding the funds already raised. 50-50 split would be $99.50, so the difference, what's raised would be the difference between $75.12 and $99.50. Most attached exhibits apply to this application. There's a handful that have been omitted. A few other things to be added would be a title certificate from title company and city attorney's certification, that's correct. Appendices 3 and 4 are directly out of the manual. They're in here. They've not been edited with narrative. I don't think there's narrative needed on those. there is a written section in Appendix 4 highlighted in yellow. I want you to be familiar with that because it addresses the 6F3 requirement. And what I've stated here is that provision would apply to the entire Lakeview complex in perpetuity, meaning the property would be subject to federal regulations. As I state here, my opinion is that we should not subject city-owned property to these federal regulations for one of $10,000. But I have concerns with Exhibit 3F, which is the power line statement. There really aren't any power lines within the interior of the park. They're on the exterior, and I made a note on that statement for that. So I guess questions what you desire. And as I was explaining to Vicki this afternoon, and most of my emails with parks down in Pratt has concerned this 6F regulation. It's in perpetuity, and changes become changes. And I've had a couple phone conversations and emails. As I understand it, if 25 years from now you couldn't use it as a ballpark, you didn't use it as a ballpark, and you're going to replace it, the new ground that you would use to replace that, the 6F transfers to that ground in perpetuity. And you still, as I understand it, you'd have to file an application with the LWCF to kind of discontinue that use, take it from a recreation to a non-recreation or completely out. It's the conversion. You would convert it to a non-recreation, non-public use, but you would have to put your new public use to your new ground in perpetuity.
My question was, there was no separate deed for this? It was bought separate?
Yeah, we bought it from the railroad where the old dormitory was. And see, I tried to find out if it's separate, and I had some emails on that. Because my thought was, well, that would just be separate. And they said, no, because it's kind of falling in the border that if it's right there with it, it's all part of the whole thing would apply. Because I had a couple of those, I sent it. Because I told them it has a separate legal description. They said, no matter if it's right there in that park, the whole park is subject to it.
If we don't do the grant, do we have to do the ADA sidewalks?
No, I don't think so.
If we, so that would be $5,000 we wouldn't have to do.
Well, Debbie and I were talking at a break, Marvin Turner didn't have a bad idea about just buying the fence and have scouts put it up or others to help. It's not a bad idea.
Well, that other
just
fence.
The materials would probably only be $3,000 or $4,000.
Well, remember Dale was saying that different type of fencing material instead of a chain.
And Marvin mentioned that.
He said
the panel fence, which is what they have in Beatrice.
Yeah, it's the 2x4 openings in it.
Right, 2x4, but you have to weld them to pipe. So by the time you get labor and everything, you're going to spend as much money.
If you put a wooden post in, they could nail it to it with those If you
want it to look like that, If you want it to look like that,
I'm sorry, did you say the panel wire would be just as expensive as the
Well, I'm thinking by the time you order, you're going to spend as much money on that as you're going to buying the materials.
And most Eagle Scout projects are the Scouts supposed to.
The Scout's supposed to do the work.
I looked up the requirements and they are not. The guidelines that because I made that comment the last meeting and I actually looked and they are not required to, there's no requirement for our, now.
The person doing it, like Nathan that's in charge of it, he is to oversee the work.
They have to oversee the project.
Right.
But there's no, you have to spend X number of, or you have to put in personal labor.
That person does it, but they want the unit.
They have to, it's their project.
Yeah, it's a unit's project.
I was a little surprised because
going in there, aren't we going to hit rock?
Probably not there.
Not as high as this one is, I don't think so.
Okay.
You're only going to go...
How deep are the posts going to be?
2
I'd say 2 feet would be...
You bury about 25 to 30% of the posts.
Yeah.
2 foot, 4 foot fence. 3 foot maximum.
Yeah.
You think we need to go back and say, you guys need to put the fence line in? Is that what you're saying?
I think we need to cut it down. I was kind of like Marvin. I don't think we need that big of a dog deal. I don't think it's going to... I've talked to several people who got dogs and nobody's really says, I'm not taking my dog up there.
I just feel like this has escalated from what started as it's turned into And I'm not sure that this grant application was a good use of the city administrative time, but we learned a lot, because actually you figured out there's a lot of other things that are going to go wrong with that, but I think it's just kind of...
A lot of this we could probably use, though,
for some, maybe good learning, but it just...
Question for you, Cindy, you've been working on this grant with this perpetuity deal. Now, like, if we ever want to do anything at the ballpark for like a concession stand or something like that,
well, the mayor had asked that earlier. Sure, it's probably appropriate, but the question is, do you want to put something like Feld Field under perpetual oversight just to put a concession stand in? I don't think. If you were completely redoing a park like Lakeview, if it had to be completely redone, new ball fields, new light, everything, this would be, I think, it'd be appropriate use to do it. I mean, something where you needed $150,000 or $200,000, and you can put up that much. That would probably be appropriate and be worth it, because it would be brand new, and everybody'd be dead before,
well, we could do it for
in 50 years at that time.
We could do Feldhausen and do it lights and the concession stand. Because the lights are the next thing that need to be
my concern is with, I did one of these 30 years ago. I don't remember that being in there. It may have been, but that was the one that really caused me some concern, was a 6F, because I had to, because it wasn't in the, I had to call and say, hey, what does it mean? So, whoa.
I don't think we want the federal government to take care of our recreation facilities.
I'm familiar with a couple of these projects in smaller scales and smaller. I think the oversight's pretty lax, but I agree. I don't think you'd want perpetuity is a long time, I think.
Longer in your lifetime or mine.
5 years, 10 years, what is my
So the council, regarding the grant, do you want to apply for this grant?
No.
Can I have a motion to that?
Move that we do not apply for the grant.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so back to guiding Nathan. If we pull the ADA sidewalks out, are you going to present to him either? I mean, I guess we go back to Nathan and say, we either are asking you to put up the labor to install the fence or to scale it down. Is that the two options we give him?
I would think a 10 by 50 would be, or not 10, 50 by 100 would be sufficient area up there.
Which is about the size of the small one.
Yeah.
But don't you think we could give him the option? I mean, if he says they'll provide the labor to put the chain link fence up, how much did you say the labor was to do that?
Well, the fence bid was $10,000, but there was no breakdown, because Nathan just brought me a price written on a piece of paper. Most bids, labor costs as much, if not more, than the material. So my guess is, I'm guessing there are $3,000 to $4,000 probably worth of materials.
Well, don't you think we should let him make that choice?
Yeah, that's fine.
Another big point of that was that cement that we were going to run under there.
No, we already took that out.
So we decided to, take that out.
We took the most strip out. So do you want Rick or Rick to contact him and say, listen, we don't feel comfortable doing this grant because of this perpetuity clause, and you have a choice, either scale it down or have the labor you guys put in the fence. Give them those choices to come back to council?
Doubled in price.
Yep.
Okay. You guys all want to, do we need to vote on that or just consensus?
No, let me scale it down, okay?
A choice to scale it down or to provide the labor to install the fence. We'll give him a choice. And come back and tell us what he wants to do.
Okay, we'll just have him come into the next meeting then.
50 by 100.
Yeah, letting him know what those choices are.
Thank you. Manhole rehab bids, there were 3 bidders on the manhole rehab project. Ace Pipe, Johnson Service, Mayor Specialties, the low bidder was Mayor. And if you look at their bids, I actually put, since there was only 6 or 7 pages, I put copies of their actual bids. And Mayor Specialties had laid out some if things, if this and that, but actually none of those apply. In other words, if it was more than 4 feet wide, 4-foot diameter manholes, if it needed bench work, repairs. So none of those things that they said would be extra charges would be applicable there, so it should just be the standard.
Have we ever used them before? Anything?
Yeah. I'm trying to think, did they do Ace Pipe? did the first year or two of the manhole rehabs.
But we've used Mayor Specialty Services or something?
No, yeah,
we have.
they've done cured in place. And I'm trying to think, there was, we used Wildcat, I think, did most of the manhole rehabs for us before, so.
He said that the city would do those too. He said a couple of them needed those ring
They're too low.
assemblies.
Yeah, the manholes are too low, so we're
So
gonna
he
put
said
extensions on
he
them.
was going to do that.
We're gonna do the extensions.
Did you guys all see the email?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I would entertain a motion.
Moved to authorize the mayor to sign the proposal from Mayor Specialties for the manhole rehabilitation project.
Second.
Is there any further discussion?
Where does it come out of?
Well, I think we had budgeted this one in the sewer revenue. Yeah.
We approved this at the last, on the meeting on the 14th, where it was supposed to come out of.
Okay.
We've already approved that. Do you remember? Do you have the minutes? You probably don't have the minutes from the 14th. I know we approved.
Yeah, because we were talking about what one, this cured in place was coming out of one and this one was coming out of the other.
We'll have to go back and refer to anything.
Okay, so we're just going with whatever we already approved. Okay, any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8-0. Thank you.
Next item is called a right of first refusal letter. We did this back about 3 years ago when Pioneer Group was thinking about buying the Elm Street apartments, but the company that's selling, actually the company that's buying this Triumph Management, they're wanting the same thing in their name. In other words, the right of first refusal to them. So, and the council approved the last one, because if you want to spend $800,000 to buy it, then you don't do this. So if you don't want to spend $800,000 to buy it, which I wouldn't recommend.
I don't think we have a budget for that.
No, I would recommend authorizing the mayor to sign the document.
Move to approve the waiver for a right of first refusal on the Elm Street Apartments, and authorize the mayor and clerk to execute the document.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8-0.
Next item, question that come up about the signals at 10th and Center. Contacted Graham Montgomery down at Gady's. Excuse me, there's an email and a quote attached. And he basically said there's really no room in the, we actually sent him pictures of what the inside of the box looks like. And as you can see, there's no room that any kind of a detection system could be installed, and even if you could, it would cost between $15,000 and $20,000 if you did. But he does have a quote to add a timer if that's what you wanted to do, $925. Basically what that would do, you could regulate the hours during the day when you would have a left turn signal. It might be a little confusing.
I was going to say, it's making it more confusing for the people that live here.
Too dangerous.
So just leave it?
Leave it.
Yeah.
Leave it as is.
And the floodplain appeal, got an email a little week or so ago, and this letter was attached. They had wanted some additional information. It was provided like within 24 hours by Keithan, and so responses, and I don't have those emails in here, but basically sometime in May, they should have a resolution letter sent out on this, final resolution. This was just something, just for information, just to see what's going on. I'll tell you what, I'll just go ahead and take up that one with the police. On the purchase of the in front of you, there's information here from the chief. As you know, purchased the Explorer. It's off of the, it's evidently in transit somewhere. You check your bosses, it's evidently been built, so now it's in transit somewhere. Todd got with KCOM down in Manhattan to get the quote on equipment, finding out that the box and, well, it says here what, the box and the cage in the console, not the box, will not fit the new vehicle. And this quote is higher than the 3,000 was quoted. He actually has pulled 2 items off to reduce that cost to $46.60, so, and he'll wait until some other time to get a cage and a console in. He thinks if they have some drug funds come in, they can use drug funds to purchase that, so we need approval on this for the equipment for $46.64. This does fall. We budgeted $30,000 for the truck. We paid $18,000, so this puts it with
Use
the
the
equipment.
capital outlay in the police
Capital outlay,
department?
police department, yeah. So you're looking at 18 plus 46 is 20, almost 20, 25 roughly. Is that right? 18, 22, 23, something like that, 23.
Entertain a motion? Nobody wants to buy the cake?
You got to have equipment for a truck. Well, I know it's hard to swallow, but
Why didn't we consider this when we were looking at the vehicles? I mean, this would be part of the cost of buying a new vehicle. Why didn't we
but
buy a
still,
vehicle?
it's part of the cost of buying a new vehicle.
Why didn't we buy a vehicle that this would fit? That would fit the equipment we have when we switch it from an old vehicle to a new vehicle?
Is that part of the problem, that if we would have kept the truck, we wouldn't have had this cost?
I don't know. That I honestly don't know.
Well, that it would transfer from one truck to the other. This adds $5,000.
No, it's adding about $1,700 right now. Because the original quote was roughly $3,000, give or take. So this is adding, by taking that cage and the console out, it's adding $1,664.
But the, let's see, we paid $18,000 for the Explorer, right? And so how much was the truck? Do you remember?
30, well, no, it wasn't that much, was it?
28.
28. So we bumped this up to, so now that it's almost costing us $23,000.
Yeah, roughly 23.
But we'd have to probably do something, we'd probably have to transfer.
You would have to
pay a
add equipment in
cost
that.
to transfer the equipment no matter what.
You would have several $1,000s for
To
transfer
transfer it
equipment and
over.
anything
Yep,
that wouldn't.
anything that wouldn't,
Because
yeah.
sometimes not everything always transfers.
Right.
I move to approve the 466402 for the KCOM transfer
Second.
cost.
Taken out of the police department capital outlay fund?
Correct.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8-0.
That's all I had, Mayor.
Okay, I did ask Rick about the police vehicle that was damaged, and he emailed me back to say that even though the damage was between $5,000 to $7,000, and we have the bids, that we as a council don't make that decision, that's correct?
No, I do not, that's correct.
Don't you think that's odd?
That's an insurance deal, though, isn't it?
It's insurance.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Well, I also said in that email that the adjuster needs to come up and look at that, because there's about $1,500, $2,000 between a high and low one. It has to do with what he said, the panel, one of the panels on the truck.
Probably if it's
One of them
aftermarket.
did repairing, the other one
the
was
frame,
replaced.
it was the undercarriage or something.
And so we're going to have the adjuster actually
which one?
set, no, we're going to have the adjuster set exactly what work to be done, and then
Go from there.
we'll go from there.
Okay,
But yes, we don't do it. I mean, it's insurance.
only because it's an insurance? Okay.
If it was, I think I also said in that email, if it was one of those where the cost of repair were so severe as to warrant possible replacement, then you certainly want to put it that way, but it's got to be repaired.
Yes, it's our new truck. Okay, is that all?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Debbie, do you have anything? Okay, standing committees. Street?
They're out patching holes
All over town.
all over town.
Did you talk to the Marysville Township about seeing if they could smooth that road out there south of McKeating's on 12th Road? I don't think you can now.
Not till you get some rain.
I know. Boy, I've got 2 or 3 phone calls on it.
Those are speed bumps to tell you to slow down. First clue when you hit the first one, slow down. It's like going like this down the road.
And I got a question. A guy asked me the other day about alongside of Bruno's, that road going up there to Kistner's. Is that a street now, or what is that?
It's private drive.
It's a private drive?
And they call it 11th Terrace. People who live on that road have
It used
11th
to be.
Terrace addresses, right?
They still do.
So that means there's two 11th Terraces, and they're parallel to each other.
But that's a private drive going up there?
Yes.
Okay.
All the way.
I can tell that.
I've been conversing with one of the owners about some options on that, and he's looking at that, talking with other owners.
So it's private drive from the highway. There's not even there's no stub, nothing.
It's no alley or nothing. It's just a private drive.
Is that the same with Prairie Lane? Or is Prairie Lane a public?
No, Prairie Lane is public street.
Are both Prairie Lanes? Is the Prairie Lane off 11th Road and there's a Prairie Lane off 12th Road?
No, that's Kiowa Lane. That's Kiowa Lane.
Really?
That's private drive.
Google calls it Prairie Lane.
No, that's Kiowa Lane.
Fascinating.
That's private drive.
Okay. And so, what about the one off of 11th Road on North? It's not
Juniper.
Juniper.
That's
all
private drive
as well?
both ways.
Okay. That is a public road there by the Senior Living Country Place. There is a stub public road there.
No, that's a private one going in between them.
No.
No, I think on the plat there it
shows it on the street.
It was public street. I think we did.
What is the reasoning behind that?
Because they were going to build some more and then rehab housing. I'm thinking that was dedicated maybe to
Keating Road?
No, that way we maintain.
Check the plat, but I'm thinking that was put in as
concrete
public street.
Okay, water, wastewater? Parks and Recreation?
Are they completely done, Rick, with the wastewater building? I've seen they poured the concrete.
I talked with Kent like Thursday, Friday. I think he had some items on the punch list, and he's want to make sure that gets done, and he will let me know.
Because I noticed
there was just minor stuff.
Yeah.
All the trailers are gone now.
But yeah, the concrete was poured, but there was just minor stuff, and when he feels it's all complete, he'll let me know.
Okay, I'm just curious. I mean, it looks pretty nice. Okay.
Okay, Parks and Rec?
Parks and Rec. Who handles Hedstrom Hall? Is that Parks and Rec?
We do. It's just kind of a storage facility for everybody.
Well, why can't they, if somebody's coming through town, put their horses in there during the night?
Liability.
Liability on what?
City.
On what? You got people that camp out down at the city park in a tent, and we're talking liability of 2 horses in the arena?
Okay.
Are you asking to be able to put them in the arena?
Yeah, overnight.
I don't see a problem with that.
Thought you meant Hedstrom Hall inside.
Nobody's ever called down here and asked, and I know.
Somebody called the other day and they were told they couldn't do it.
People use that arena, but are they getting permission, or are they just using it?
I don't know
I've seen horses in there.
I don't know who gave permission because they didn't talk to me.
They didn't get permission. They got told liability.
Well, I'm not the one that gave that answer.
I thought you were talking inside.
No,
I'm talking
inside
in the
Hedstrom Hall.
I'm talking in the arena.
There's people go up there and ride their horses up there.
Now, this would be overnight.
Yeah, but I mean.
Okay.
I think the risk is on the owner of the horse. There's nothing to say they can't camp up there beside it and watch their horse. I mean, it's a park.
I think that's what she planned on doing.
Well, I don't know who gave that, but it wasn't me, and I don't think it was Debbie.
Okay.
So.
Well, for City Park, and I tried to call the tree board, left word at Dennis Kramer's, didn't get a hold of, who's the guy that's the arborist? That's on the tree, Bill Nelson. Couldn't get a hold of him, but I talked to Dale. Don't know which trees are involved, but everybody kind of like to get an idea of which trees are involved that the tree board wants to cut down. And so Dale got a hold of Kim down at Forestry, down in Manhattan, and she's making rounds tomorrow, so she's going to stop by tomorrow. And if anybody wants to sit in on that while she assesses the trees or which ones maybe cut down. And the question is, will cutting down some of the trees benefit the ones that remain? So she's going to kind of do an assessment of that. And anybody who wants to be down there can call City Hall by noon. Isn't that right, Deb? Mm-hmm. And then we'll know when she's going to be down at City Park, if you want to be in on that.
Okay, thanks, Vicki.
You're welcome.
All right, Cemetery and Airport. On the hangars, I read the weekly reports, weekly highlights. And is there only one hangar that doesn't have aircraft in it?
That was, based on the responses we received, yes. Which I thought there was more than that, but Debbie had all the responses, and
they claimed
when you add them up, it only shows one person has one space, and it's not for rent because the building's for sale, period.
Okay. Wait a minute, I know there's one out there that doesn't have airplane in it. It's got junk in it.
It's got an open door.
It's got an open door. I didn't trespass.
I think that might be the one. I think that's the one.
FAA or somebody tells us that we have to put a plane in there if they've got stuff in there that doesn't relate to airplanes or airport. They have to relinquish that. They can't just store in there. They have to relinquish it if somebody wants it. And as was published in the paper, we have somebody coming in from Nebraska that wants it.
No, that's Washington.
He's in Washington. I actually saw him. I ran into him at the airport and talked to him the other day. He's from South Dakota, North Dakota, but originally from Washington. They retired back here.
Yeah.
But he's still interested?
He's got a plane in Beatrice right now.
Does he want to buy the hangar?
Not for the price quoted.
Okay. And so, but we can't force him to lease his hangar?
That's a legal question for this gentleman. He would probably have to familiarize himself with the FAA regulations.
Part of the problem,
I don't disagree with what Vicki said.
Yeah.
Yes, those grant regulations have said somebody wants a space and there's one, you got to lease some space now. When you got an owner, a privately owned building, the guy says, I'm not interested in renting, but I'll sell it. But the person needs a space, don't want to buy.
And I've had this conversation, there's not a way, they can say, yeah, I'll rent it for $50,000 a month, and you can't set the rent. So what do? You get really caught.
Then you say you need to empty that out, because I think according to FAA regulations, you are not to store anything that's not plane related on an airport. So they'll have to clean that out and let it sit vacant.
That's what they say. They've been pretty lax. They know there's storage out here. It's just the issue is
they pretty much. I don't know what they would call it. They're not rulings, but they're like advisory letters that
circulars.
There you go. That the smaller airports, they've granted more flexibility on that because they understand that they can't.
A lot of hangars are privately owned.
Marysville International can't be run the same way as Kansas City International, so that they've granted a lot of flexibility for smaller airports.
They could build a hangar, right?
Yes.
Yes.
There's a space there that this person told that person they could build a hangar?
And
he asked about it.
Yeah, I talked to him about it. And
I don't know if he wants to make the investment, because he'd asked, well, could I? Well, yeah, we
part of the thing with that is, if they build it, they've got all the costs up front, and they're building something on ground they don't own. So people are hinky about that, and I don't blame them. That's why a lot of airports, they finance it, and then the person basically buys it over the length of time, or they build it like a spec building. I'm not recommending it necessarily, but I'm saying that's what a lot of airports do. If they've got a demand but no buildings,
and you can get
room.
And you can get KDOT and FAA grants to do that.
And then you set it up on a 20-year lease or whatever, so that way you get that money back. And somebody's, you have to trust them a little bit, and you have to structure it right.
Well, so he's aware he could build one.
Yes.
Going back to my question.
He's talked to other airports as well, but.
Yeah.
Well, we're right back to the thing. Somebody has got stuff out there they know is not supposed to be there. When they bought that, they understood what they could put in there and what they couldn't. I don't think FAA has changed that, the rules and regs on what can be stored. Because the price we were charging out there, I mean, you could buy that and write it off on a business for one thing, and it would be cheaper than what I'm renting, a 5x10 storage, So it's being misused right now. Whether somebody wants it or they don't, and they're saying they want to leave their stuff there, so they're going to, tell somebody $1,000 a month if you want to rent this thing from me. But the fact is, the stuff that's out there is not supposed to be out there, whether he wants to hang on to that space or not. It shouldn't be on the airport.
I seriously doubt that hangar is worth what the asking price is.
Oh, but that's the point. The point is to discourage anybody from wanting it, so that they can use it for what it's being used for now. But I would encourage any one of you to go out there and take a look. Doors open about this far. You're not doing anything wrong by looking in. There's not a thing that resembles anything that's a part of an airplane in that space.
Okay, well, let's proceed on tonight. Police and fire. Two things I wanted. Do we have a policy on employees talking on cell phones while they're driving?
Sometimes they get cold while they're driving. I think they try to pull over, but there are times when they do talk on those phones.
On personal cell phones? So employees, can they talk?
Are you talking about police department employees, or are you talking about city
Anybody, I'm
employees?
talking about anybody.
I think the department heads try to get them to limit it, but there's, obviously if a guy's down in the water department, he's down the ditch, fixing water line, Kent's not gonna, Kent's don't let it ring, you know. Letting in there trying to fix his water leak, answer your phone, they're not supposed to be, but.
Well, I just wondered if we had a policy in place or or maybe have a cell phone holder in the police vehicles. We have all this equipment. It seems like we'd have a cell phone holder.
Why would we get a Bluetooth at this point? I mean,
My understanding is, though, that sometimes accidents happen even if it's in a holder, even if it's on speakerphone, because you have to look away to hit the button.
It was on Bluetooth.
Right.
Okay, I just didn't know if we had a policy.
It was on Bluetooth. It was on hands-free operation, but you gotta punch it to get it to come on.
I got a person. Okay. The only other thing I wanted to say is that I think we need to have a list of the committees and the boards and whatever that the police chief goes to on an annual basis, and make sure that for the total number is reasonable based on, we asked Debbie to give that, and I think it's only fair that we ask the same information from the chief. So you guys are all in consensus to ask the chief to list out when he expects to be away from the office?
He probably generally knows. I mean, I imagine a lot of.
But I think we should know so that.
Well, I think one of the things he's told you before is not all training is known, because sometimes stuff crops up 30 days in advance and they need hours and they go. So not all his training is predictable.
Well, I just thinking over, I don't think we can scrutinize one and not scrutinize another. So I think he should provide us with a list.
Are you saying training, these are, I think are you referring more to the organizations?
Yes.
Yeah, the training, and I think he already, when we had our last committee meeting, he had 90% of that. So I think he would just, and I think there was even times on that, so I think he just probably needs to fine tune that and
present it to the board,
to
the council.
He already had it, was very close to having that.
So I think that, because the other departments, I don't see where they're being gone all the time. So that's the only other department.
This wasn't training or emergency or the things that he gets called up for,
Okay, anybody else have police and fire? Admin and finance? All right, we have wage appointments for pet breeding on page 91.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8-0. We have for cemetery and parks, a new employee for 1188.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, how do you pronounce that name?
Circoni.
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 Okay.
I pronounced it Circone and I was
Italian.
not right. Circoni.
Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8-0. And the last one is for William Brenton.
Move to approve.
Second.
Changing to maintenance worker number 1 as well as the salary increase. Is that right?
Yep.
Yours was the second?
Yes.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8-0. City attorney, do you have anything?
I do not.
Do we want the city attorney to come to the next meeting? Since he came to this one?
No.
Just wanted your opinion.
Is anything big coming up that we know of that requires his expertise?
None that I'm aware of, but at this time we say no, and then they'll call you if we change our mind?
Like you say, yeah.
It's blocked out of my calendar, so if you...
I'd hate to say no and then we need him here, so.
So we will notify him in his
Yeah, we'll give you a half
Yeah, I know, but.
I need at least an hour.
So we get the packets on Thursday, so
We ought to know by
if
then.
anybody has a change and hard decision, okay. So I think we're done with executive sessions tonight. And here's our cell phone policy. I'm not going to read it, but it's on page 52 of the employee manual, so we'll read through it. Thank you for that. On roundtable, I just wanted to read real quick the proclamation for our service people. So it says, whereas service to others is a hallmark of the American character, and central to how we meet our challenges. And whereas the nation's cities are increasingly turning to national service and volunteerism as a cost-effective strategy to meet their needs, and whereas RSVP volunteers address the most pressing challenges facing our cities and nation, from educating students for jobs of the 21st century and supporting veterans and military families, to providing health services and helping communities recover from natural disasters. And whereas RSVP expands economic opportunity by creating more sustainable, resilient communities and providing education, career skills, and leadership abilities for those who serve. And whereas 320,600 Senior Corps participants serve across the country, including 105 volunteers in Marysville, Kansas, bolstering the civic, neighborhood, and faith-based organizations that are so vital to our county's economic and social well-being. And whereas more than 8,061 hours of service were donated by RSVP in Marysville, Kansas, providing vital support to city residents and improving the quality of life in our county. And whereas RSVP participants increase the impact of the organizations they serve, both through their direct service and by managing millions of additional volunteers. And whereas RSVP represents a unique public-private partnership that invests in community solutions and leverages non-federal resources to strengthen community impact and increase the return on taxpayer dollars. And whereas RSVP participants demonstrate commitment, dedication, and patriotism by making an intensive commitment to service, a commitment that remains with them in their future endeavors. And whereas the Corporation for National and Community Service shares a priority with mayors nationwide to engage citizens, improve lives, and strengthen communities, and is joining with the National Association of Counties and county executives across the country for the Mayor and County Day of Recognition for National Service on April 5, 2016. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Carla Grund, Mayor of the City of Marysville, Kansas, do hereby proclaim April 5, 2016 as National Service Recognition Day and encourage residents to recognize the positive impact of national service in our county and thank those who serve and to find ways to give back to their communities. So, with that being said, the RSVP dinner is Wednesday night to honor these volunteers, these 105 volunteers in the city of Marysville. The last thing I just want to say is, I don't know if you guys saw this, but Darlene showed this to me, that they had a nice article about Marysville, Kansas in the Manhattan Mercury. So if you did not see it, I have a copy of it and you can read it. All right, Keith, roundtable.
Pass.
Bill.
No.
Darlene. No. Brad.
Nope.
Todd.
Yeah, sure, why not? The gutter replacement up here in the 1300 block on the south side, is that something they're going to continue in other places? Is it just going to kind of, like, I didn't know, if there's an order of where they're doing it?
Got some more there from Masons to go on east a little bit, and eventually to try to come down along the courthouse too, as it's time.
I was going to say if they're going to kind of finish that whole block.
It's time from that. So
on Broadway?
Yep, on Broadway. It looks great. They're doing a great
I know
job.
they're doing a good job.
I know, and some of that's so eroded.
That was getting bad.
Oh,
I had a couple, 3 people tell me they fell out there when they was getting their taxes done. And when they stepped off the curb and the gutter was really bad. And
so I think that's great work. That's it. Looks good.
Okay, Vicki.
I just hope that everybody notices that a lot of construction and repair are going on our streets. The GEO project has started. The speed limit through there is 20 miles an hour from 17th Street on out to 20th, so watch your speed there. Don't run over any workers out there. And new house is going up in my neighborhood in Ward 3. It's another one of the wooden homes, cabin looking homes. But that lot's been cleared off, filled in, and basement's built, and we're having another house built down there. Some of the things that we've been looking at, like the telephone poles that have been laying on a parking for so long, will be gone in 2 weeks. So people are starting to do their spring cleaning, and I think another one of the vehicles is going to be gone. It's sitting in a prominent position, but I just think people are trying. I think they are, and I appreciate that for everybody in Marysville to make it better looking city that's not costing taxpayers money to get it done. Thank you to everybody who's doing it.
Thank you, Vicki. Denny?
I don't have any.
Kevin? I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Hello, stay
He just wants to be on the record.